G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. In this guitar lesson, we're going to take a look at a super fun traditional French-Canadian reel by the name of Bastringue. Now, we're in the key of D and we're in 2/4 time. In a moment, we're going to take a look at part A of this tune, but if you head on over to pickinglessons.com, you're going to find yourself a copy of the tablature we're working from, which has your pick marks and your left-hand finger marks in there. You'll find the second part of this lesson where we take a look at part B of the tune and break it down into some exercises. And you've also got some play along and backing tracks. So once you get to know the tune, you can use those as part of your practice. So pickinglessons.com. Now we are going to take a look at part A in a moment, but the first thing we need to do is actually look at the tuning we're in for this arrangement. We're in the key of D and I've gone with an open D tuning. And the tuning we're using is DAD, AAD. So it's an open D chord essentially, or a D5 chord. And it's pretty easy to get to this tuning. First of all, string 6 we change down to a low D, so we're tuning down to a D. Then we leave the next two strings alone, so we have D, A and D. Now string 3, we're going from a G up to an A. So if you're using a really heavy gauge string, just watch that. But if you're using a medium light type string or a light string on your acoustic, this would be fine. So the G up to an A, so we have D, A, D, A. Then our second string goes down to an A. So we have two A's in unison there, same pitch. And then our first string is tuned down to a D. So D, A, D, A, A, D. It's a really interesting tuning with the two A's. We're using them a lot of time as a drone in our playing while our melody might be on string 1. There are some melody notes on string 2 as well. It's a really interesting sound though. So get into the tuning now. Let's have a slow play through part A and then we'll work on a few exercises just to help us learn the tune. 1 and 2 and. Okay, part A there. Now, make sure you are in the tuning because otherwise the melody's not going to sound right. So, the DAD, AAD. Now, one of the main things about this tune is it's very rhythmic and you can get away with playing more strings than I've notated there in the music, in the tablature. So, the melody wants to be dominant in your playing. So, for example, the melody in measure 1. But you could play more strings. Now, it could be just 2 strings. Or it could be 3 strings. You could even take it out to 4 strings. As long as you're hearing the melody nice and clear, that's okay. So I've added a couple of strings around the melody note, just to give you an idea, but feel free to extend that out. And you've got this open tuning, which will work a lot of the time. Probably don't extend to the entire 6 strings. You could probably focus on those top 4 or top 3 especially most of the time. So I'm tending to be on the top 3 strings at the most, sometimes 4 strings as well. The occasional accent on all 6 strings, but feel free to have a play around with it and just make sure your melody is nice and strong. So let's take a look at the timing here in the first measure. First of all, we have this slide over the 2/16. And we're just playing a rhythm in our right hand of down, down, up. Very strummy, down, down, up. We can hit more strings. And then focus in on our melody. So remember, melody wants to be king, but it's okay to hit more strings in your playing. There's a hammer on and pull off, a 16th note hammer on pull off here. On the end of measure 2. Our rhythm in context, ready, and. Ready, and 1. Okay, so that hammer on pull off there. When it gets up to speed, it's going to happen quite quickly. So a little bit quicker. and really focusing on the melody. If you're not hearing enough of your melody, play fewer strings. Focus your picking on those top 2 strings. Or you go the 1 string, but you'll be losing those drones. So just remember that melody wants to be king. All right, moving on, a little tip here for the second measure. When the melody note is on string 2, try and block out string 1. It will help that melody sound strong in your playing. And you can just block it out with the underneath of your fingertip you're using on string 2. So for example, that little finger there, on that 7th fret melody note in measure 2, and block out string 1, and when we change to the 4th fret, again, block out string 1. So in our down strums, which is what we're using here, we're not going to be hearing string 1. And then at the end, or on beat 2, we hear that open D string and it pops out. So just blocking out string 1 as your melody note is being played on string 2, and that's pretty much anywhere in this arrangement you want to do that. It just helps with the melody sort of sticking out a little bit more. Okay, so there are a few hammer-on pull-offs in here in the 16th note triplet rhythm in measure 3 as well, and measure 5 and measure 7, but it's the same rhythm. Just keep an eye on your fingering. There's a grace note hammer-on in measure 4. So measure 4 we have, and the grace note for this hammer-on means we just need to hammer on really quickly into fret 4. We're starting at fret 2, but as soon as we strum this melody note, we're straight to fret 4. So one more time. So straight in. So a really quick hammer on there, sort of accenting straight on that beat, so don't spend any time on the 2nd fret. So that's the grace note. Okay, so it's an 8 bar, so make sure you are repeating this so you get the full form here for part A. It's a pretty straightforward melody. It's fun in this tuning, not overly complicated to play, but we are playing it quite quick. So that makes it challenging, but it is reasonably easy to play. Just remember the right hand groove. We are following kind of a 16th note, 1E and a 2E and a groove. So our right hand just keeps rocking away like this as we're playing, trying to focus in on our melody notes, but of course playing some extra strings around it just to sort of give it some color and flavor. Just focusing on the melody as much as you can in your playing. Okay, so spend some time on it. Start slow, memorize the tune as you go. Make sure you're in the right tuning, because otherwise it won't sound right. And when you're ready, jump on over to pickinglessons.com and we'll be able to have a look at part B there together. We'll also have a look at some exercises to help us learn that as we go. And you've got your backing and play along tracks and your tablature as well. So pickinglessons.com, I'll see you there.